Audio Archive, Syracuse University Libraries.
Hi, I'm Megan, host of Radio Free Saturday Morning, the eclectic music mix beacon of the Four Corners and worldwide. Tune in to discover new music and to revel in the more familiar with no rules on genre, form, or novelty. Learn more about the origins of songs, the lives of the musicians that made them, and a wide array of interesting facts in general. It's freeform radio at its finest. Hear what you rarely hear anywhere else here on Radio Free Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday on KSJE.
Hi, this is Adam Rodriguez. Did you know that today 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic? That means many of the future doctors, engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. Many support you, and the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. Learn more at hsf.net. Brought to you by the Hispanic Scholarship Fund and the Ad Council.
Expand your knowledge with the Academic Minute. Each day, travel with us around the world to learn what professors are researching within their specialties and be the first in the know. Listen as we discover the newest green innovations, research the behavioral patterns of animals, and examine how the arts are being studied today. You'll find it all on the Academic Minute.
Listen every weekday afternoon during the KSJE Evening News at 5:30. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them. Whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury, San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. "11 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, June the 10th, 2021. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM, over the air, of course, here in San Juan County, New Mexico. 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere on Earth from our website, including your smart speakers from KSJE.com. Welcome aboard also to our viewers. This is a visual radio program. The video stream is going live to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. So we're glad that you are with us this morning, everybody, because coming up in the next few moments, we're going to get an update, if you will, from my guest, Arvin Trujillo from Four Corners Economic Development. He'll be joining me here in the next few moments with an update on some of the projects that he and his team are working on. So stay tuned for that in the next few moments. And then, of course, next hour, it'll be our COVID-19 Community Information Program. Megan Cullop is going to be joining me here in Studio A. We're going to be talking about some more efforts from local pharmacies to get out COVID vaccinations to our population, and also more news about rental assistance in New Mexico. That program is continuing. More money available to help residents with rental assistance. We'll get the details on that coming up next hour. It is our COVID-19 Community Information Program. Of course, as you know by now, it is streamed live at 9 a.m. on our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and you can hear a rebroadcast of it on the radio and streaming, of course, every afternoon at 5:06 p.m. here today on KSJE. On the radio side of things at 9, Mick Hess will take us roving with the arts, and today on the program, Mick is featuring music from Haydn, some more of his string quartets for us today on Roving with the Arts at 9 a.m. on KSJE. Don't forget, of course, you can connect with us on all of our social media platforms, including our Instagram page as well. And let's talk about the weather forecast. As we're talking about hot weather, it is sunny and mild today with increasing sunshine today, breezy, 92 for a high, 52 overnight, sunshine 92 on Friday tomorrow, and then we're looking at upper 90s by the weekend, including, as I have mentioned here on the air earlier today, 99 for a possible high on Sunday. So the sun and the heat is here, and that means fire danger, and we need to be cautious of that and be concerned about that and looking for any moisture that we can get. Let me turn to my guest, who is here with me this morning. Arvin Trujillo, as I mentioned, is the CEO of Four Corners Economic Development. He is joining me live this morning from his offices here in Farmington. Arvin Trujillo, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Scott. Glad to be with you.
Thanks for joining me again for our update, you and I. And this is kind of some of the work that you and I have been talking about for a while, but you have taken the task at Four Corners Economic Development to kind of really focus on some really potential areas of growth and areas to really put your resources, I guess I would say, into the area. And those are some of the target industries. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about this morning, correct?
That's correct. You know, we are looking at where do we want to put our efforts, where do we want to put our priorities, and how do we begin to identify our role as Four Corners Economic Development. Because again, what we're looking at is not to compete with other organizations, but how do we complement their efforts, or if we need to take a leadership role in a certain area, then that's what we want to try to achieve. But again, this effort of really looking at target industries is an important aspect of what we're trying to do here at Four Corners Economic Development.
Right. And so you've had some task forces getting together to try to, I guess, pinpoint some of these and, again, look at what's going on in the county, all the different economic drivers that we have, and really try to focus on what's going to be the main focus, or what should be the main focus 5 years from now, 10 years from now, kind of looking long range, correct?
That's correct. You know, when we did our strategic planning, one of the areas that we really wanted to look at that was identified by the team that looked at this was, you know, what area should we be focused on? What industry should we be looking at bringing into the county? And then coupled with that was what kind of skills or what kind of training is going to be required as we begin to transition into other industries. Because, you know, as you and I have spoken before, Scott, right now we've been so dependent on the energy sector, and a lot of that is changing now. And so a lot of our efforts is to look at diversifying our economy and looking at new opportunities coming down the road. So we've looked at these gold teams, gold team number 3 and 4, which are target industries and workforce development. And the mechanism that we utilize to do this is through a focus group effort where we've gotten experts from the county to come in and really look at different areas that we've identified and provide answers to questions that we may have. And it's a way for us to gather information. And right now, the 6 areas that we've been working on and doing a lot of research in are within the areas of retirement, agriculture, healthcare, construction, manufacturing, and film. So those are the 6 areas that we've been working on. We've got teams that have been set up. We've been having meetings with different individuals, really gathering information and gaining a better understanding as to where we are concerning these industries, what are some of the gaps that we see, what kind of a role should we be taking. And I've been really pleased with the way our different task teams have been coming together and really having some good discussion and helping us figure out how do we proceed in these particular areas.
Right. And I do want to point out, it's not lost on me and probably a lot of our audience this morning, Arvin Trujillo, that energy was not listed in one of those areas. And not to say that energy is not a part of our economic future, but maybe not as big of a growth industry as it has been in the past. Is that, is that part of the thinking behind that list?
No, really what we're looking at right now is energy will become a part of this. I mean, we still have a lot of natural resources. We got oil and we got natural gas. We got coal.
Right.
We've got renewable capabilities. The biggest thing that we've got is transmission. But right now, we're kind of looking at areas that we've got a lot of understanding in the energy sector. But right now, we don't really have a lot of information, nor do we have a lot of any ideas that what kind of coordination needs to happen in some of these other industries. And so again, our goal right now is to look into these other areas. Energy will always be a part of our discussion here in San Juan County. But again, right now, this is a learning process for us really to begin to determine what other industries are out there and how do we begin to focus our efforts and develop the necessary support mechanisms in order to begin to see some development and growth in these particular areas.
I got you. And that makes perfect sense to me because, of course, we can see that the energy industry here is certainly well developed and has a lot of the support infrastructure that is needed to be successful. It has been for 50 plus years. And so that makes perfect sense. But an area, say agriculture or manufacturing, maybe not so much. And maybe that is why it needs some discussion and some study to see what we need to develop it so it's running as well as the energy industry. Is that a good correlation to make?
That's a good correlation because, again, what we're looking at, Scott, is what do we need to do to begin to stabilize businesses that we have in these particular areas? What do we need to do to help expand these areas within the county and the general Four Corners region? What do we need to garner support in order to develop necessary infrastructure to help support these areas? For instance, if we're looking at agriculture, we're looking at manufacturing, rail immediately comes to the forefront. We look at film, we look at healthcare, we look at retirement, we look at manufacturing again. Broadband development comes to the top. And so again, those are some of the things that helps us really begin to focus our efforts because, if you're not careful, you can get inundated by a number of different ideas. And in essence, you're kind of chasing your tail at that point. And so what we're trying to do right now is to really begin to determine which areas do we want to look at, what is specifically our role as far as Four Corners economic development is concerned, because people like the chamber or entities like the chamber, the different economic development organizations within the county and the municipalities themselves, even the Navajo Nation, they're all working on different areas. And so again, like I said, the idea is what are they doing? What areas are they working on? What gaps are there? And really help to determine what's going to be our role. How do we work with them? Because again, we want to develop a process whereby we're all going in the same direction and not really competing with one another, but we're complementing and collaborating our efforts so that at the end of the day, we do really see results that people can recognize, and we're moving forward in these different areas. And so again, it's really kind of helping us determine where do we put our effort. And basically, I guess the biggest way you could put it is where do we get the biggest bang for our buck?
You bet. Well, there's not a lot of bucks going around, so the more bang, the better, I would say. That makes a lot of sense to me, Arvin Trujillo. And let me ask you from an economic development standpoint, too, how important is it to have entities at various levels all kind of on the same page, all rowing in the same direction, for lack of a better analogy, that agree that, these 6 areas are what we should be focusing on. They make sense. There's some activity already in some of these areas, and it wouldn't take a lot of effort, but certainly it's going to take effort to move us towards some of these target industries that you've been mentioning. How important is it to have, kind of everybody on the same page, levels of government, residents, other businesses, business groups like the chambers that you mentioned? How important is that?
It's very important because at the end of the day, if we're not all going in the same direction, we end up competing against one another. And if we end up doing that, there are grants out there, there are levels of support in different areas. There are certain aspects within each of these industries that require different types of support. And if the entities aren't talking with each other and aren't looking at the same direction and aren't looking at the same type of goals, basically it's like having a good analogy. Maybe you have a rope that has 6 tied with a knot and you got 6 ends. If all those ends are all pulled from one in different directions, basically the middle there doesn't move anywhere. Everybody just stands still. But if everybody goes and moves in one direction, then you start seeing movement, or you start seeing results of your efforts. And so again, we're just really looking at how do we better collaborate so that we understand what each other is doing. We understand the goals that each of us are trying to achieve. From those discussions, we then can determine what should be our overall goal, what should we be striving for. And if we can do that, then everybody can begin to determine, here's my role, here's my niche in terms of meeting that particular goal or that particular objective. And so again, we all begin to move, and we start seeing ourselves going and seeing results. And more importantly, we're able then to show that to federal or state agencies, which again just adds to our ability to get needed grant or funding or even resource support as we move forward to achieve economic diversity here in the county. So again, having that strength and having that